Hi, I'm Kai Cheng Tom, and you're watching Ask Kai, Quick Tips for the Apocalypse. And I used to call this like a series of short videos in which I teach you about life, love, sex, and dating, everything you need to know to be happy in the pandemic. But then I was like, mostly the questions are about sex because you're all sexy little nerds and you want to know about sex. So maybe this is like sex questions and some life questions. And happiness in the are we happy in the pandemic? Yes, the answer is yes, you're very happy. So today's little sexy question is scissoring actually good for anyone? And there's sort of like an insouciant little flair to this question. It's like, is scissoring actually ever good? No, I don't think it is. There's some like, okay, and I'm like, I see you. You're being saucy. You're like, no, I hate scissoring. Scissoring is bad. And like, okay, maybe for some. If I were to answer this question very honestly, like, is scissoring good for anyone in the world? Well, first of all, there's like 7 billion, 8 billion. There's a lot of people on this planet. And I'm sure someone out there likes scissoring. Someone might be into the fantasy of scissoring and less into the actual experience. Some people might be like, oh, scissoring, I could never. But then, try it and then they're into it. And I also just want to say, so when we talk about scissoring or when we use these kind of shorthands, I was talking about this on a different video too, when we were using the phrase like giving head or getting head, scissoring, giving head, getting head. We often assume that they imply like specific body parts, specific gender identities. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, like, when we talk about scissoring, a lot of people are going to assume that we are implying like two assigned female at birth people, like maybe like cisgender, lesbian, or bisexual women are putting their genitals together in a sort of like scissor motion. I can't believe I'm doing this on camera, you sexy little beast, you're making me do this. So, like sort of like grinding the genitals together for sexual pleasure. Well, it's sort of like any physical sexual act, right? Like, first we have to ask, does the idea turn you on? Does the reality turn you on? And even if the idea kind of turns you on, or it doesn't, like, we want to kind of consider you don't just jump into any kind of like physical sexual act. If you take any body parts and just like kind of like mash them together, like if I was like to take my knuckles and then mash them into someone else's knuckles, it's not very fun, right? Like, you want to like warm things up. You want to smooth the way. You want to kind of make sure that people are aroused to begin with. Yes? And particularly when we go toward the center of the body, toward erogenous zones, sensitive zones, zones that may carry particular emotions or memories for people like the genitalia. So we kind of want to work around and then work our way in sometimes. It's sort of just like a general rule of thumb. You don't always have to, but, like, we want to kind of maybe start with kissing, making out, foreplay, or whatever else it is that turns on you and your partner. And then maybe go to scissoring and see if it's good for anyone, right? Like, if you were just to like be like, scissor right now, scissor today, like, well, probably wouldn't be very good for many of us. But if we were going to set the scene, if it were me, maybe light some candles, turn on some Enya, right? Now you know a lot about me, then probably I could try scissoring. It could be better. And then, of course, it has to be with the right person as well, right? Like, I've heard people kind of complain about it being like a lesbian fantasy. Like, it's this idea that other people who are not lesbians or who are not queer women sort of use to like denigrate or to fetishize queer women. And that might be true to a certain extent. Like, there's always cishet people out there fetishizing us in one way or another. But that doesn't mean that we as queer people or that lesbian folks can't just enjoy a sex act on their own for their own reasons. Or it also doesn't mean that we can't reclaim scissoring or any kind of fetishized or stigmatized sexual act in a way that we really love and enjoy and that works for our bodies. So just to go ahead and say, if you love scissoring, please go out and prosper, scissor to your heart's content. Those of you who are maybe a little bit more reluctant, well, as we've discussed, you could still try it in the right environment, but you don't have to love scissoring. We're all allowed to like what we like and love what we love. Do you? I think that scissoring, like a lot of other sex acts, like kind of gets a bad rap sometimes, or like we're sort of, we can be flippant about it or whatever. But of course, some people really like this sex act. Like some people really like scissoring, however you're defining it, right? In this like sort of maybe more like archetypal, like lesbian scissoring kind of idea, or if we're talking about a different kind of configuration of bodies, identities, expressions, and you don't have to like something because someone else does. Like I think this is a really big thing about being an adult and being sex positive and just like generally being mature about sex in a good way is like acknowledging that some people are into something and you're not into it, and we don't have to yuck their yum. Like, actually, that's fine. So that's it for today, kids. This is Kai Chang Tom. You're watching Ask Kai, Quick Tips for the Apocalypse. Stay safe, wash your hands, send in all your sexy little questions. I can't wait to see what you come up with next, you little pervs.